For centuries, men have been plotting to bring about a new world order. From seemingly diverse backgrounds, religions, cultures, and even politics, they come together behind the scenes to enact their plan. It was predicted many years ago and has been ongoing. Along the way, thousands have built vast fortunes, families become entrenched as the power brokers, and authority placed into the hands of a few. Throughout time, they have followed a cleverly laid out plan that was written down in code, cipher, and symbolism thousands of years ago. In this film, we will examine their special language in order to uncover the truth. From the special names to the special numbers, a secret lies hidden and waiting. We will reveal the significance of the number of the beast, 666. We will see the truth behind their religious symbols such as the cross and tree, and through these see the beast for what it truly is. We will know the one that shall follow, the one they call the Antichrist, and we shall be amazed. Never in the history of mankind, until now, was it possible to deliver this beast upon the earth. The New World Order is ready, and its new Messiah about to be revealed. One of the greatest works of symbolism on every level is the Bible. To the scholar who knows the alternative meanings of some of the apocalyptic texts, it has been obvious for a long time that there is truth hidden away. But there are so many hidden layers that any number of meanings are possible, and we must remember that lies are also hidden in code. We must be careful not to read too much into texts, as we could be in danger of perceiving them in the light of our own modern society. Modern-day evangelists use the biblical book of Revelation as proof of the Lord's imminent return. They point to hidden meanings regarding nuclear war and Middle Eastern dictators, as if they had some kind of divine revelation themselves. The truth is, as any historian will tell you, that every generation since the writing of Revelation has claimed the end is very close. That is partly the point of the gospel, misinterpreted completely as usual. All of these false interpretations make it more difficult to break the code down into facts. We shall begin by taking a look at our origins. The origin of life has always been a fundamental part of religion. The Age of Enlightenment of Darwin and his contemporaries drastically altered the religious outlook of the world. If we look at the truth behind the origin of mankind, we will see that Darwin was only discovering what was already known, that this Age of Enlightenment was planned. It had to happen for the required changes to occur. We will see how ancient man and his religious beliefs were perfectly parallel to our current scientific beliefs, the difference being only in the terms used. Take the following pattern, which is common to the majority of the world's religions. Only the God exists. He is supreme and is alone. The heavens and earth are formless. Everything is darkness. and covered by primeval waters. Then there is light. Heaven and earth are split apart. The land is separated from the waters. Day and night are created with the new sun. The land brings forth vegetation and eventually creatures. Birds and animals are created. Man appears. This pattern is also common to the current theories regarding the origin of species. It is completely in line with the Big Bang theory, and yet seems to have emerged thousands of years ago. These patterns were especially notable in ancient Egypt, one of the most mysterious forerunners of the world's faiths. It's almost as if a long thread of knowledge is finally coming out into the open. We can see the origins of the modern secret societies by looking into the names of those from the past. There is a name or title that can be found worldwide in all cultures and across time. They were called the Shining Ones. We shall begin with the Bible and see where the thread leads. The remnant of the Rephaim, or giants, was known as Og the giant, which is linked with Ogma from Sumeria, which in turn was linked with the English landscape giant at Cairn Abbas, which in turn is linked with the chief Indo-European deity, Dyaus, which means the Shining Wand. Therefore, King Og of Bashan in the Bible is the remnant king of the Shining Ones, seen here across vast distances as giants in the land, from cultures that should have no similarities or connection. The Indo-European god Dyaus Pitar means the Shining Father, and linked to the Indo-European shaman, where sacrifices were held towards the great Shining Father. Devas of Hindu tradition means Shining Ones. Buddhist Bodhisattvas regarded as the Shining Ones and saviours. Agni, the Hindu sage, means Shining One. He was father, priest, king, protector and messenger. The people called the Ananaj are linked with the Angakok of Greenland and the Anakim giant race of the Bible, and means great sons of the Shining One, after their god Anu, the Shining Father. Ra, the Egyptian god of the sun, took on the role of Shining Father, and the kings of Shining Sons. The Egyptian Ak means Shining Soul. Isis governed from the shining heights of heaven. Melchior was the Magi king of the Shining Ones. These Magi supposedly derived their knowledge from the Brahmins. Virgil tells us that the golden race will spread throughout the globe and produce a Messiah who will be born of a virgin lady. Are we getting the picture yet? They were everywhere, even thousands of years ago, and they were remembered in legend, myth and religion. Their names sound different to us because of the difference in languages, but the meanings are all the same. Archangel Michael means he who is shining. In Cornish, the word El means angel and the Shining One. The angel Seraphim means Shining One. Elohim, the Jewish god or Lord, means the Shining Ones. The host of heaven or stars in Sumer and Israel were the Shining Ones. Egyptian Amu-El means Amun is the shining one. Moses is shining forth when he comes down from the mountain or heaven. Quetzalcoatl is the light of day, meaning he is very bright. Helios is depicted as a shining horse. Actaeon means shining one. Lampon, the horse of Diomedes, is the shining one. Skinfaxi, the Norse mythological horse, had a shining mane. Buildings became shining when they were painted or plastered white, and the priests became the shining ones who were to adorn this sacred colour. Fatima, the daughter of Muhammad, means the shining one. She is said to be virginal, and her title is bright blooming. The Nile is said to be the healer of mankind, who shines when he issues forth from the darkness. The word saint comes from the root sam, which means light of the one and shining. The great Hu, meaning shining light, and Hu is the root word of so many other religious divinities such as Dayu, which is where we get the word dew for the shining wetness of the morning. The simple similarity here is shining, and it is very straightforward why. These were the gods of the heavens. The great bodies in the sky that we could see shined. The sun, moon and stars above us were therefore extremely important to our ancestors for some reason. That reason is simple and empowers the one with the knowledge. They gave us the time of year and day. They were the perfect tool for navigation and knowledge of the seasons. For trade and agriculture, both of paramount importance to any culture then and now. There are other clues we can see if we look closely to reveal those who had such knowledge and were part of this massive worldwide brotherhood. One such clue is the presence of a beard. Giants are said to have beards. To be a giant simply means stature, power, manhood, enlightenment, and is common throughout the history of the Shining Ones. The shaman, medicine men, kings, queens and priests, pharaohs of Egypt, including queens, wore either real or false beards. Baal wore a beard, which comes down to us in our image of the Christian God having a beard. The men of Islam wear a beard. Samson loses his power when his beard is destroyed. Samson was a member of the Nazarites, who also had beards, and his name means son of the sun. The Gnostic Essene wore beards. El, the Canaanite god, also became the god of the Jews, as the Shining One who has a beard. Jupiter is associated with Adonis, the other title used by the Jews for God. He was the Shining One with a beard. Quetzalcoatl had a beard. The Druids of Europe had beards. Another symbol we can use to see the Shining Ones is the cross. It was a symbol of the sun across the world, and therefore a symbol of power and light. To be crucified upon a cross was to be fixed in time by the sun. North American shaman are suspended by their wrists in the style of crucifixion, taking them in a trance to the other world and coming back with powers. Odin was sacrificed on the Tree of Life and visited the underworld. There are Hindu temples in the shape of a cross and burial tombs all over Europe in the shape of a cross. The Great Pyramid of Giza forms a cross on the ground at the summer solstice. Hindus form a cross by outstretching their arms as an initiate tries to gain salvation. Quetzalcoatl's symbol was a cross. Celtic crosses with winding snakes are the same as the Hindu images. Jainism has the cross and swastika, as do Hindu and Buddhist beliefs. The same swastika chosen by Hitler. The symbol of Tammuz and Thoth, and therefore Hermes, is the cross. And there is reason that Mercury, who is associated with all these, has the cross. So far, we have shining, beards and a cross. All mean the sun or the lights in the sky. All are symbolic of wisdom, power and strength. All attributes of the solar divinity. All symbols that are still with us to this day and utilized by those in positions of power, from Freemasonry to the Illuminati. There is another, the symbol of the Trinity. There are three shaman worlds, three kind of devas, or shining ones, in Hinduism. The triad of Hinduism, Brahma, Vishnu and Shiva. The Christian Trinity, God the Father, the Son and the Holy Spirit. The Book of the Dead in Egypt, with three streaming rays of shining light hitting the soul of the initiate. Thrice great Hermes comes out of the balancing act between Thoth, Tammuz, Hermes and Mercury. Zoroaster would return 3 times. 3 Magi who brought 3 griffs. Jesus crucified on a mountain with 3 crosses, one either side of him. 3 Chatras on Hindu temples. Buddhist 3 fires and 3 marks built into all existence. Buddhist Trinity of Refuge, 3 bodies of Buddha and 3 jewels. 3 foundations of the universe of Simon Magus. Druid Holy Triad. Taoist 3 giving birth to creation. Tai Chi represented as 3 candles. Asgard 3 thrones. Classical Trinity of Zeus, Poseidon and Hades, or Jupiter, Neptune and Pluto. Fatima the Shining One and daughter of Muhammad gave birth to 3 sons. Druidic harps made from a triangle, 3 strings and 3 turning keys, all symbolic of the great trinity of the Druids and Bards. If the people had been true and honest to the 3 grand articles of religion, then the bard may sing a requiem which would enable the people to enter heaven or have salvation via the trinity of the harp. The Babylonians represented the supreme deity as an anchor, shooting the 3-headed arrow. This became the archer Sagittarius. The English arrow being Aru, or the light of Yu, and the Sanskrit for arrow being Ishu, or the light of Hu. The arch, of course, being the procession of the sun overhead. There are many reasons for the Trinity in all religions and creeds across the world, but the all-old meaning in the sky is yet again. It is very simple, and yet lost on modern eyes. It is God as the Father's Son, the Mother as the Moon, and the Son as the Earth. It is symbolized as a triangle, within which we have the all-seeing eye of the solar divinity. It is through this sun god that life is brought about. Without the sun there is no life. As plants die in winter, they are born again in spring, when the sun rises once again. This pattern of life is revealed in the concept of reincarnation. If plants come back to life, then so too can we. It is therefore no surprise to discover that the sun god on earth should be reincarnated or resurrected. In the Indian Bhagavad Gita, we hear his words, "I have been born many times." The Bible tells us, "You must be born again." The Egyptian Book of the Dead states, "I have the power to be born a second time." Indeed, before 500 AD, reincarnation was a Christian doctrine. There are copious Egyptian rebirth rituals. The Magi believed in reincarnation. Zoroaster, Osiris, Horus, Adonis, Dionysus, Hercules, Hermes, Baldur, and Quetzalcoatl all descended into hell and were risen again on the third day, just as the sun does each year. Vishnu said, "Every time that religion is in danger and that iniquity triumphs, I issue forth for the defence of the good and the suppression of the wicked. For the establishment of justice I manifest myself from age to age." The sun god will appear in every age in a mirror to the Jewish idea that every age has a Messiah or Son of God. Resurrection is all part of Mithraism, the Orphic mysteries, and Isis worship. These sun gods had to have a way of being born. They could not be human. They had to be gods. And so we have the virgin birth in a womb, or tomb, or cave. Is also seen worldwide. In Egypt, Isis immaculately conceives Horus. Virgil said the Messiah would be born of the Virgin Lady. Zoroaster was born of a virgin. Fatima, the Shining One, gave birth to 3 sons and is said to have been a virgin. In China, the virgin birth consists of treading in the footprint of God, which the mother of Hu Qi did, and was born like a lamb. He was born amidst sheep and cattle, just like Jesus. The priests and power brokers of this vast empire of the soul around the globe not only wore beards as a symbol of the solar divinity and wisdom, they also wore the colour of light, white. Jains, Knights Templar, Druids, Bards, Priests of Osiris, Jupiter, Magi, Romans, all wore white. The Persians said that the gods wore white. Carmelites or white friars, Cistercian nuns and monks, Magdalenes, orders of the Sisters of the Presentation of Mary, the Congregation of the Daughters of the Holy Ghost, the Congregation of the Missionary, Sisters of Our Lady of Africa, and the White Fathers. The list is endless and revealing. These, then, are the symbols we should be aware of when seeking out the New World Order, for they are symbols that are being utilised for millennia. But the New World Order has a darker side to it, and this is symbolised by the image of the beast. It is the symbol of their kingdom on earth. There are many prophetic symbols associated with the beast, and the dragon is a good place to start. In Bible prophecy, a beast is a symbol of a king or kingdom. In the book of Daniel, we read, "These great beasts, which are four kings. The fourth beast shall be the fourth kingdom." This kingdom is not necessarily a state as we know it today. It is also the kingdom of God, a spiritual kingdom, a kingdom of dominion of the soul. We know this because Revelation states that the people worshipped the beast. They worshipped the kingdom of the soul. The symbol of this beast is the dragon. It is Satan, the father of lies and deception. We are to be aware of the evil of this great beast in which we have so much faith. Those in power in whom we place our faith are constantly proving this warning to be true. One way of recognizing the beast among us, according to the Bible, is via blasphemy. This is when a person or community claims to be God's representative. There have been a great many. Another way of blaspheming is to grant absolution from sin, something that only God can do. So, what we seem to be looking for as the catalyst for a new world order is a kind of nation that has all these symbols and claims to be God's representative on earth and offers absolution. It's a strange coincidence that their own books subtly reveals them. But let's move on and examine a little more closely to see them. The Bible gives us some clues called marks. These are identifiers, things that we can spot on the body of the false nation. They are given to us in the last book of the Bible, Revelation. They will worship the beast. They will rise out of the sea, which is a symbol for being amidst a densely populated area, such as the Vatican in the Sea of Rome. They will deceive. They will rule ruthlessly. They will persecute true believers. The beast will have a number, 666. There is only one massive world power that meets all these criteria. It has influenced and controlled mankind for a very long time, and still to this day holds huge influence. Many leaders of the world and people in positions of massive power are members of its nation. It's persecuted its own people. It has claimed to be a representative of God on earth. It claims the power of absolution. It has all the symbols. It is the Catholic Church. The beast is well known among scholars to be a nation. All nations are beasts. The USA has the eagle, Great Britain has the lion. They all have beasts to symbolize them. The Vatican is a nation within a nation. It is a nation of those who follow its creeds. Revelation tells us that this beast shall be ruled by ecclesia, symbolized as a woman. Ecclesia, or the woman, is a church. This nation shall be ruled by a church, a Catholic church. a universal church. Within this church shall be Satan himself ruling. He is the father of lies. Every cleric must obey the Pope, even if he commands what is evil, for no man may judge the Pope. These are the words of Pope Innocent III. He is master over the nation. Revelation tells us he will be master over the spiritual and the physical, the religious and the political. Only in the Vatican City can this be true, for it is the headquarters of the vast Catholic world and also a city-state unique in the world. It has been a deceptive nation. It has abused its own people. It has all the marks. But does it really want a new world order? In 2004, Pope John Paul II called explicitly for a new world order, and he was not the only one. Over generations, the papacy subjugated nation after nation through legal fraud and battle. Rulers across the world were subjects of the Pope and did his bidding. Pope Nicholas I stated, "Fear, then, our wrath and the thunders of our vengeance. For Jesus Christ has appointed us, the popes, with his own mouth absolute judges of all men, and kings themselves are submitted to our authority." Pope Gregory IX pronounced papal domination over the entire Christian world, secular and religious, and excommunicated all who failed to obey the popes and to pay them taxes. This was confirmed by subsequent popes, and in 1568 AD, Pope Pius V vowed that it was to remain an eternal law. It is to this day still believed. And so, through symbolism and code, we can begin to see more clearly the very roots of the modern idea of the New World Order. We must return now to some of these symbols, for within them we shall discover more. We begin with the reincarnation and the cross. The idea of rebirth is never more firmly placed than in the tree. The image of Jesus dying on a cross is rooted in nearly 2,000 years of myth. The Bible never mentions a cross. Instead, the original word was tree, and almost all early Roman crucifixions were on trees. Also, the Jewish way of executing a criminal was by stoning. The cross was an early symbol of execution by crucifixion. People were often impaled or nailed to a pointed stake or tree and left to die. So where did this cross image come from, and who added it into the Christian passion? There is an enormous variety of cross forms, all of which come from the same root. The Egyptian Ankh is a T-shaped cross with a loop above, and represents life, and is held by a deity or king as a sign of his power to issue life. This cross was held to the nostrils, and life returned to the departed. In the same way as breathing the breath of life into the nostrils, noted in the Bible and just about every other creation myth. Without the loop, this cross represents eternity to the Egyptians, and predates the Christian cross, which was introduced into Christianity 300 years after the death of Christ on a tree. The reason for this was so that this new shining one, enlightened king-priest deity, could be linked with the old ways, just as he was in so many other ways. Those with the eyes to see and the ears to hear would have understood the vital symbolism involved with this link. The legend of the true cross of Christ is linked with the tree of life, because symbolically it was upon the tree of life that Jesus died. The cross is found in all cultures and, mostly in the magical context, it has power. The various words for cross come from ros, meaning the light of the great fire, the light of the sun. In many doctrines, the four stations of the cross stand for air, earth, fire and water. The Aztec weather goddess carried a cross, and at Cozumel it was an object of worship. The symbol of Quetzalcoatl is a cross. Native Americans marked their boundaries with magic cross. The swastika cross is formed from four Greek grammars joining together. It was widely used and is found in many stone monuments around the world. Regarded as a symbol of good fortune, it derives its name from the Sanskrit svastika, meaning blessed. It has been used by Mesopotamian, Cretan, Mayan, Navajo, Celtic, Hindu, Jain and Buddhist cultures. It is believed that it represents the movement of the sun through the heavens and the cycle of life. The swastika arose more obviously under Hitler's Nazi Germany, when it was turned counterclockwise to represent evil and negative forces. Hitler supposedly found the swastika on a Catholic monastery doorway, and it also became the symbol for his Thule Society, which was responsible for the Nazi movement. Strangely, Hitler was taken in at an early age and trained by a Catholic man who would go on to become the Pope during World War II. Was this part of the great plan? To bring about a world war so terrible that it would force the world to create a United Nations. The same United Nations that has a ridiculous amount of Catholic influence with special Catholic status. Hitler joined a re-education program where he was singled out as a good leader and speaker. He came to the attention of Archbishop Pacelli, who would later become Pope Pius XII. His friendship with the Archbishop led him to being promoted into the ranks of intelligence, where his role was to infiltrate the German Workers' Party. For 6 years from 1919, Hitler would regularly meet with the Archbishop to pass on intelligence reports. For some reason, the Archbishop ordered Hitler to influence the party to change its name to the National Socialist German Workers' Party, or what we now call the Nazi Party. In fact, Hitler had such influence within the party he was spying upon that he was announced as the party's Führer in 1921. A Catholic from birth and having attended Jesuit schooling, Hitler was deeply interested in the mystical elements of the Catholic Church. Indeed, the very school he attended had an ancient swastika above a doorway he would pass through every day. His work in the Nazi Party came along with huge amounts of Catholic money to help him build the group. Pretty soon, Hitler was creating a paramilitary wing known as the SA, or Stormtroopers, with Ernst Röhm as their head. With the aid of Jesuit spy masters, the SA were trained in espionage, assassination and propaganda. By 1923, Hitler and his party marched on Berlin to overthrow the government, and yet he never made it out of Munich, and Hitler went into hiding at the residence of a friend who was also a close friend of the Roosevelts. He was eventually found and imprisoned for 5 years, actually serving only 1. In prison, he wrote Mein Kampf with the help of some Catholic friends. According to the official statements, the Catholic Church simply kept quiet during the Hitler reforms. They even claimed that many Catholic priests were victimized by the Nazis for their part in freeing Jews and other non-desirables. This is indeed true. The Catholic Church did remain quiet, and there were individuals within the Church that stood up for the rights of man. However, there is a darker side to the Catholic role in the running of the Nazi war and Holocaust machines. As a child, Adolf Hitler attended classes at a Benedictine monastery. Here, he sang in the choir and claimed that he had dreamt of one day taking holy orders. I am now, as before, a Catholic, and will always remain so, he is reported to have said to one of his generals. The Catholic Church in fact never excommunicated him, and when we consider that a person could be excommunicated for just misdemeanors as giving water to an infidel, then this is quite eternal. The stark fact remains that the Catholic Church turned a blind eye to the Nazi oppression, especially as it had just spent the last few centuries trying to rid the world of Jewry itself. In fact, taken to this end, and the hidden links between Freemasonry and the Catholic Church, we can start to see a picture of a Christian purging of the Jews in process. A process that appears to have been ongoing for an awful long time. Some have claimed, however, that this was just a balancing act, in that the Jews were getting too powerful in Europe at the time and needed trimming. The Catholic deal with the Nazis involved having further privileges for its priests, and even permission to get them involved in the public school system, with a massive $400 million of state aid. It also led to a clearing of anti-Catholic lawsuits, as by 1940 Hitler had erased or quashed over 7,000 legal cases against Catholic priests. All in all, the Catholic Church was doing quite well out of the process. A concordat with the Catholic Church in 1933 stated the following: "The German Reich guarantees the freedom of the profession and the public exercise of the Catholic religion. Catholics shall enjoy the protection of the state in the same manner as the employees of the state. The teaching of the Catholic religion in the elementary, vocational, secondary and superior schools shall be a regular subject and shall be given in conformity with the principles of the Catholic Church." To the Catholics, this was all perfect, and so why should they make life hard for the Nazis? To the Nazis, they gained prestige and seemingly backing from the Romans. They also needed to ensure that their allies of the future, Italy, would not be upset. Many authors have in fact shown that even following the end of the war, the Nazis were aided in their escape by their brothers in the Catholic Church, escaping via monasteries and nunneries into deeply Catholic countries in South America, especially with the aid of certain Jesuits. It would not do to call people into a secret society and then for them to be left high and dry when the whole thing collapses. This is just one example of Catholic meddling in the political systems of the world and the dire effects this had upon mankind. Their meddling has in fact been the cause of millions of deaths, all in the name of a supposedly peaceful religion. And by placing the symbols on show for the world to see, such as the swastika, they made a statement. Let us now continue our journey with the cross. In 100 BC, crosses were set up above the graves of the elect by the Scandinavians, who also used them as boundary marks, just like Native Americans. And the staffs of Scandinavian priests were crosses mixed with the caduceus. The Tau cross, without the loop, is probably the oldest type. It is the cross of the god Thoth, or Hermes, who became the god of the alchemist, the magician, the inheritor of the Shining One's legacy. It was also the symbol of the god Tammuz, a Sumerian, Babylonian and Assyrian god who died every year and rose again in spring, at the same time as the Christian Easter, or rising of Christ, matching the cycles of the sun. Tammuz is identified with Adonis and Marduk. The Jews obviously knew about the cyclic nature of Tammuz, as he is spoken of in Ezekiel, where the women weeping for Tammuz is alluded to. The early 4th century Gnostics took this old pagan symbol of the sun and earth and the cycles of life and made it represent the man who was to symbolize all these things and more. All crosses originated from the most basic of altars, the sacrificial tree, which in the case of Jesus was, significantly, placed upon a mountain with 2 others as a Trinity sacrifice. The tree, as the image of death and rebirth, is universal to all cultures. In South America, sacrificial victims were invariably fastened to tree trunks. In China and Japan, there are sacred groves and trees standing at or just outside the entrance to their villages. Offerings are pinned to the trunks of these trees. The worship of trees is fundamental to an understanding of the supposedly mysterious images we have found around us. The Druids held special interest in the oak. Indeed, the Druid word for sanctuary matches with the Latin word nemus and means grove or woodland glade. In Sweden, Greece, Italy, India, America, Australia, all Europe and Africa, the worship of trees is so deeply ensconced in the origins of their beliefs, we must wonder how these beliefs came to be so universal and so similar. It is therefore no wonder that the idea of God dying upon a tree was absolutely fundamental to the plan of Jesus' death. Worship, especially the more sacred and secretive worship, seems to have been carried out in groves. The natural grove would have been modernized, with the sacrificial tree being placed at the center or entrance. Upon this altar, the king god or son of the king god would have been sacrificed. The grove would then have been fenced with posts, poles or trees. This eventually led to the small stone circles, a more permanent structure. The altar or sacred tree would then have been transformed into a large stone monolith, and all the attention diverted towards it. In conjunction with this, knowledge of the stars and the cyclic patterns of nature would have been taken into account, and suddenly we have the most useful temple in existence. People would come from miles around to pay their tithes to the sacred priesthood. see the prophecies, enact the rituals, and learn. Power over this vast period of time settled well and truly with the priests of old, and this is how today we have a religion at the centre of it all. The Catholic Church can trace its origins right back to these early days. There is little wonder then that the revelation of the beast should be in their own book, hidden in symbol and code, as any psychopath always likes to leave clues. Let's take a closer look at these clues. Revelation 13 is the main chapter where we see a description of society under the rule of the beast, or Antichrist. And I stood upon the sand of the sea, and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of blasphemy. And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet were as the feet of a bear, and his mouth as the mouth of a lion. And the dragon gave him his power, and his seat, and great authority. And I saw one of his heads as it were wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed, and all the world wondered after the beast. This is a description of the power structure. The animal and its various parts are all symbols of the governments it rules over. We know this because Revelation tells us. The 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the woman sitteth, and there are 7 kings, 5 are fallen, and 1 is, and the other is not yet come. And when he cometh, he must continue a short space. And the beast that was, and is not, even if he is the 8th, and is of the 7, and goeth into perdition. And the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings, which have received no kingdoms as yet, but receive power, as kings 1 hour with the beast. These have 1 mind, and shall give their power and strength unto the beast. They all have 1 mind, given over to the authority of the beast, and that mind that is set upon dominion. The term for kings simply means political ruler. There will be 10 dominions, ruled over by 10 rulers. They are symbolized as 10 horns. These will be the final 10 leaders. We are told that the beast is unique, that nobody can fight him in war and win. It either has military might so vast that none can meet it, or it is simply a nation state that one simply would not wage war against, such as a church. The beast is said to want the throne of God, to be worshipped as God, like a pope, sat upon his throne and adored by millions. We are even told in the Bible where this great power wishes to reside. It is known as Zion, and most scholars have stated that Zion is Jerusalem. However, there is more here than meets the eye. The Vatican was built as the new Jerusalem. There is no need to suffer the heat of Israel when you can make your own Zion. It's all very good to control the masses through belief, but financial control also needs to be in place. Banking was in fact originated by the Catholic Church. It was they who created the promise to pay system, and the very word bank is derived from those times when the deals were done on the bank outside the castle walls. From the very start, money was under Catholic control. The word itself is from moner, or to warn. Nobody seems to have listened. Revelation tells us that financial control will come through a mark, known as the mark of the beast. And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark on their right hand, or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. Here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. Every single person will have the mark, or they won't be able to buy or sell. They'll die. There will be no social divide. What is amazing is that this was written 2,000 years ago, when you could buy and sell with goats. You didn't need money. The mark itself would have to be very clear and clever, because it would somehow have to reveal a person's known wealth. What if that wealth altered over time? Would you have to get a new mark? Well, in today's age, that's not really a problem, because we have a computer system and banking. Our mark could simply be a barcode. The truth may be found in the number 666. The Hebrew and Greek alphabet does not have separate characters or alphabets for numbers and letters. Letters are also used as numbers, so each letter has a numerical value. The Hebrew equivalent of our W is the letter Vav, or War. The numerical value of Vav is 6. So the English WWW, transliterated into Hebrew, is Vav, 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 which numerically is 666. So every website starts with 666. The idea that we will all have the number of the beast tattooed on our hands or foreheads has been around for a long time, and there are many theories from the Christians as to how this will be done. Microchip implants being one of the latest. The humble barcode has been popular in this area. The universally accepted form of pricing and itemizing has come under the watchful eye of our friendly evangelist. The EAN13 international barcode has 13 digits. The following is an example of how we constantly get 666 out of our barcodes. Every barcode has 3 taller bars, one at the start, one in the middle, and one at the end. This bar has a numerical value of 6. So all barcodes have 666 on them. So what about the man at the top, the Pope? The official title of the Pope is Vicarius Filii Dei, which translated is representative of the Son of God. Since in Latin certain letters have numerical values, we only need to add them up to come to 666. So the number of the Pope is amazingly the number of the beast. All of this is part of a vast system of numerology hidden within the Bible. Not only did they hide their truths in symbols, they also hid them in clever mathematical codes. This is a second-tier coding system used by the scribes to hide their secrets. Whether humans are supposed to be stamped with a barcode or not remains to be seen. But the systems we now have in place for mass control and observation are obvious. We pay with the swipe of a card or by using our mobiles. Soon, this will change, and we may have implants of microchips so we can scan our hands. Our code will tell the computer what we are worth and deduct the payment. Behind all of this are the massive international corporations. Side by side with these are the nation's politicians. Both monitor and manipulate us on a huge scale, and that manipulation is becoming more and more automated. We can now talk to an artificially intelligent customer service representative and do all our business without ever having to deal with another human. We are all slaves to the machine. These same artificially intelligent systems recently revealed that mankind should be eradicated. It is a logical conclusion to make. With all the knowledge of what mankind has done to the world and continues to do, is it not a logical progression that in order to save the world, then mankind should be wiped out? Will mankind be smart enough to have a safety device on these artificially intelligent minds we are letting loose? The world's biggest computer and mobile phone company regularly releases updates that have flaws in them. Are we to trust them to release a mind upon the World Wide Web that can think as fast as the speed of light, with all the knowledge of all the world from all of history? Such a mind would be able to stop the world of humans from turning. Power cut off, deliveries messed up, water, gas, oil and industries brought to their knees, money wiped off the grid, satellites taken over, traffic systems played with, and even worse, it may turn off our Wi-Fi. The whole thing could be catastrophic, or even worse than that. It could indeed all be controlled from a central location. Used to do the master's bidding. But who owns these corporations? The banks. And who owns the banks? The beast or church shall be followed by the Antichrist that shall do its bidding. Is this Antichrist the opposite of the perfect man, about to be unleashed upon the world in the form of a human creation we call artificial intelligence?